Welcome to the equipment video for the Procut PFM 9.2 computerized on-car brake lathe. This program will provide instruction for the use and maintenance of this innovative piece of shop machinery. The Procut provides a fast and efficient means for eliminating brake pedal pulsation on virtually any vehicle. Pulsation has become more prevalent as auto manufacturers have taken weight out of brake components. These lighter systems are less robust and far more susceptible to problems. Pulsation is most often the result of thickness variation in the brake rotor. New rotors are uniformly thick and stop the vehicle smoothly, but thickness variation can develop over time, eventually leading to a pulsation concern. Why does thickness variation develop? Because of lateral runout in the face of the rotor. A rotor like this one, with lateral runout, will not wear evenly. As the wheel turns, even with the brakes relaxed, the rotor will contact each pad once per revolution as shown here. The rotor will wear faster at these two spots, leading to two thin spots on the rotor. It's easy to picture how a rotor with this thickness variation will cause a customer concern due to brake pulsation. In order to prevent thickness variation, the rotor must turn on the hub with less than 0.02 of an inch of lateral runout. Because most vehicle hubs have lateral runout due to stacked component tolerances, a new rotor, or a rotor machined on a bench lathe, will often have excessive lateral runout as it turns on the hub. The Procut provides a long-term solution because the rotor is matched to the hub on which it turns, eliminating the uneven wear that leads to thickness variation. Reviewing brake concerns, it's important to remember that stacked tolerances lead to runout, and it's this runout that in turn causes thickness variation. And it's this thickness variation that is felt as brake pulsation. Thus, if you can remove the runout, as the Procut machine does, you can avoid the development of brake pulsation. The procedure for using the Procut begins with vehicle preparation. Raise the vehicle on the lift so the hub is about belt level. Be sure the vehicle is in neutral, and check that the wheel bearings are snug, as any play can complicate operation of the lathe. Calipers should be removed and suspended out of the way of moving parts like half shafts and CV boots. Lug posts and wheel mounting surfaces on the rotor should be cleaned. Fall-off rotors should be cleaned on the inside as well. In general, you want to make sure that all rust should be removed from all contacting surfaces to ensure solid mating of hub, brake, and wheel components. Finally, before mounting the lathe, be sure to check cutting bits. These bits play a vital role in delivering high-quality surface finish. It's important that they be original Procut tips and properly mounted. Each tip has a life of 7 to 12 cuts per corner and should be rotated until all 3 corners have been used. You can monitor rotor surface finish to determine tip wear. If the rotor surface finish begins to look inconsistent or feels rough to the touch, bits should be rotated. Reviewing vehicle preparation. First, be sure the vehicle is in neutral and raise it until the hub is about belt level. You're going to want to check for excessive bearing play and correct any hub irregularities. Then remove the wheel and caliper. Be sure to clean all mating surfaces between the rotor, hub, and wheel before checking the cutting bits to make sure they're in good condition so you'll leave a good surface finish. The Procut mounts directly to the hub of the vehicle at this center flange. As you can see, the cutting head of the brake lathe is to the right of the center flange. You will want to begin with the lathe right side up as shown, with the cutting action where the caliper is normally mounted. To mount the machine, first select the correct adapter for the vehicle you're servicing. Passenger cars use either the 4-lug or 5-lug direct fit adapter. Most trucks and vans will require one of the larger adapters. This flat adapter is for dual-wheel trucks. A complete list of available adapters can be found in the owner's manual. Once you've selected the correct adapter, try each bolt pattern until you find one that fits the vehicle evenly. Using a hand wrench, secure the adapter in place with either the vehicle's lug nuts or the nuts provided with the machine. Be warned that adapters are not designed to withstand the use of impact tools. Again, do not use impact guns to attach these adapters. Roll the machine into place and attach it to the adapter. The lathe stand is spring-loaded to accommodate different heights. Each adapter has a dowel pin which must line up with one of 2 holes in the mounting flange. Once the flange is flush to the adapter, the shaft of the machine bolts onto the adapter by turning the large mounting knob. Snug this firmly and rotate the machine so the cutting head is in position to cut where the caliper was mounted. Then lock the machine in place by tightening the trolley handle. The cutting head must also be set. Notice the series of tapped holes in the slide plate and the slot in the cutting head. There's a 6mm T-handle Allen wrench included with the lathe that will allow you to move and center the head so the cutting arms will straddle the rotor. Before you tighten the securing screw, it is absolutely critical that you firmly press the head back into the dovetail groove in which it rides. While one hand is tightening the screw, the other hand must be firmly pushing the head back into the dovetail. If you fail to do this, surface finish will be compromised. Different vehicles have different offsets, so the head must be moved in or out for each vehicle. On large trucks, the head will be mounted as far out as it can possibly go, as shown here. Even though you can see that the head hangs over the edge of the base plate, the lathe will cut smoothly, provided the head is squarely pressed into the dovetail. Finally, be sure to bring the shutoff cam into position so the lathe will automatically shut down when the cutting head clears the rotor. Reviewing the important parts of mounting the lathe. First, be sure to start with the lathe in the right side up position. Select the correct adapter and mount it with a hand wrench. Never use impact tools. Mount the lathe to the adapter. Center and secure the cutting head, being sure the back edge is securely in the dovetail. Then set the automatic shutoff cam so it will engage when the cutting head clears the rotor. Compensating for runout with a PFM 9.2 is a very simple process. Once the machine is attached, all the technician needs to do is turn on the lathe and firmly press the start button. A series of clicking sounds will be heard as the lathe adjusts for runout. The lathe will adjust for a short time, usually less than a minute. After the adjustment is complete, the clicking will stop and the control panel of the lathe will light up with a status report, usually double green lights. The double green lights are an indication that runout has been compensated to less than 1/1000th of an inch. If the lathe has trouble getting a clear signal of the runout, it will open up the acceptance range and keep trying. In this case, a single green light is given, indicating that runout has been reduced to less than 3/1000th of an inch. If the red try again light appears, remove the lathe from the adapter, rotate the adapter 180 degrees, and try again. Often the PFM 9.2 will be able to adjust the second time. Repeated failure to zero would indicate a problem with vehicle components, such as a damaged bearing or a bent half shaft. These components should be serviced before turning rotors on the car. This machine is ready to make a cut. Notice that you can still see some radial runout in the machine. This scrubbing motion is different from that of lateral runout, which has been compensated for by the machine. This is caused by a slightly off-centered adapter and is desirable since it forces the lathe to leave a non-directional surface finish on the rotor, which in turn reduces the chance for any brake noise. Reviewing for lateral runout adjustment. Double green lights indicate it's okay to make a cut. If the lathe shows the red try again light, dismount it, rotate the adapter 180 degrees, and try again. Repeated try again lights usually indicate some problem with the hub or axle that will need to be corrected before machining the rotor. Making the cut is a simple operation. Loosen the clamp knob on top of the cutting head to allow the cutting arms to spread. Visually check to see that the arms are set wide enough to clear the rotor, and advance the head to the middle of the braking surface using the feed knob. Advance the cutting arm on the back side of the rotor until it just skims the surface. Then advance the cutting arm on the front side of the rotor until it also just touches the surface. This will be the base from which cut depth will be set. Then use the feed knob and advance the head into the inner edge of the braking surface. It is absolutely critical that you do not advance the head too far and strike the hat of the rotor. Watch very carefully as you advance the head. Failure to do this will result in damage to the lathe. At the inner edge of the braking surface, use the advance knobs to set cutting depth. Each line on the knob will advance the bit 2.5/1000ths of an inch as marked. The PFM 9.2 can take up to 15/1000ths per side or 30/1000ths per rotor and still leave a finished cut surface. There is no need to make a secondary cut with the PFM 9.2, so cut depth should be set deep enough to ensure that all runout is taken in one pass. Once this is done, tighten the clamp knob on top of the cutting head and mount the disc silencer. This silencer is very important and should be used on every rotor to prevent vibration. It rides right on top of the tips, as shown. To start the cutting pass, disengage the feed clutch by popping the feed knob. The cut will take 2 to 4 minutes depending on the size of the rotor. And when the cut is finished, the automatic shutoff will stop the machine. To dismount the brake lathe, simply unscrew the main knob, being careful not to bump the rotor or fender with the brake lathe. To review making a cut, first make a scratch cut to establish baseline for depth of cut. Advance the cutting head to the inside edge of the rotor, being very careful that the cutting arms do not hit the hat. Hitting this hat will cause damage to the tool holder plate that will adversely affect lathe performance. Set cut depth so that all runout can be cut out of the rotor in one pass. Remember, the lathe can take up to 30 thousandths per pass. To prepare the lathe for the other side of the vehicle, loosen the trolley handle. Then rotate the machine into the upside down position. The procedure for cutting upside down is just the same. However, since the cutting head has already been set in the proper position, you will not need to move it. The lathe mounts in the same manner. Often the shutoff switch will still be depressed from the previous cut, so the machine will not turn on until you move the cutting head. The cutting arms will also be advanced in from the last cut, so be sure to loosen the clamp and spread the arms before advancing the head. Adjusting for runout is just the same as well, just press the button. The entire cutting process is also the same, right down to the silencer clip, which mounts upside down in the same position. Advancing the cutting head toward the hat of the rotor requires even more care in the upside down position. Do not bump the hat of the rotor with the cutting arms. To review cutting in the upside down position, first, be sure the cutoff switch is disengaged or the lathe will not turn on. Second, just remember all operations are the same in the upside down position. The best way to ensure smooth operation of the Procut PFM 9.2 is to keep all parts as clean as possible. The cutting head itself should be disassembled once a week and all parts cleaned and lubricated. The slide plate under the cutting head needs to be assessed weekly as well. To assess the plate, first remove the 2 Allen screws which attach the feed mechanism to the slide plate. Grab the plate and move it in a diagonal direction. If you feel any play, then the plate is loose and adjustment is necessary. To adjust the gib, first loosen all 5 set screws by freeing the lock nut. Then remove the plate and gib completely and clean all contact surfaces. Use steel wool or a sharp tool if buildup is difficult to remove. Once these surfaces are clean, slide the plate back on and perform the adjustment. Locate the slide plate in the middle, then tighten each Allen set screw individually until you feel it snug against the gib. Lock each set screw down with the lock nut. When the gib is properly adjusted, the plate will have some resistance as it slides, but there will be no lateral movement possible. To reattach the feed block, position the slide plate as far forward as it can travel before tightening the Allen set screws. This will ensure that the slide plate will be well centered over the lead screw. Poor surface finish is often a result of a bent tool holder plate. To assess this, align the cutting head on the plate as shown and check the edge with a 3/1000th of an inch feeler gauge. Any gap here indicates that some damage has been done and the lathe will not cut properly. Another maintenance issue concerns the power supply for the brake lathe. The lathe has a powerful 1 horsepower motor which requires 20 amp electrical service. All extension cords must be at least 12 gauge and less than 25 feet in length. Drop light extension cords are not recommended. This concludes the program on the setup, operation, and maintenance of the Procut PFM 9.2 on-car brake lathe. The information outlined here is also detailed in the Equipment Owner's Manual included with the brake lathe. By following these procedures, you will be saving time and matching the rotor to the hub on which it turns, thus eliminating the root cause of pulsation. In doing so, you will also be ensuring the satisfaction and safety of your customers. If you have any questions concerning the lathe, please feel free to call Procut at 1-800-543-6618.